Have you ever had that heart-stopping moment when you realize you've sent a text to the wrong person? That sinking feeling when you know there's no taking it back. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more emotional real-life stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Mark Collins stared at his phone in horror, the blood draining from his face. The text he'd just sent burned on the screen. My boss is so hot it's distracting. Those eyes, that smile. I can barely focus in meetings. Only instead of sending it to his best friend Dave as intended, he'd sent it to Diana Boss, his actual boss, Diana Winters. The same woman he'd just described as hot. The same woman who held the power to fire him from the job he desperately needed as a single father raising an 8-year-old daughter. No, 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 Mark whispered, frantically tapping his phone as if he could somehow reach through the digital ether and pull the message back. But it was too late. The dreaded read receipt appeared beneath his message. Diana had seen it. There was no escape. Mark collapsed onto his worn couch, the weight of his mistake crushing him. At 34, he'd been raising his daughter Lily alone for 3 years since his wife Sarah's death from cancer. The marketing coordinator position at Winters Design had been a lifeline, flexible hours that let him be there for Lily, health insurance they desperately needed, and a salary that kept them afloat. Now he'd jeopardized everything with one careless text. His phone buzzed. Mark's heart nearly stopped as Diana's name appeared on the screen. With trembling fingers, he opened the message. My office. 8 a.m. tomorrow. 4 words. No emotion. No hint of what was to come. Mark groaned, burying his face in his hands. How would he explain this to Lily if he lost his job? How would they manage? The next morning, after dropping Lily at school with a forced smile that didn't reach his eyes, Mark arrived at the office 30 minutes early. The building was quiet, most employees not due for another hour. He paced outside Diana's office, rehearsing apologies that all sounded inadequate. Diana arrived precisely at 8, her expression unreadable as she unlocked her office door. Come in, Mark, she said, her voice professional and cool. At 38, Diana Winters had built her design agency from nothing after leaving a toxic corporate environment. She was respected, admired, and yes, beautiful, with intelligent green eyes and dark hair she often wore in a practical bun. But Mark's attraction went deeper than her appearance. He admired her brilliance, her compassion with clients, her ethical business practices. Not that any of that mattered now. Diana, I am so sorry, Mark began as soon as the door closed. That text was completely inappropriate and unprofessional. I have no excuse. Diana sat behind her desk, setting down her coffee. You're right. It was inappropriate. Her eyes met his directly. But I'm more concerned about why you're texting about me to friends during work hours. Mark swallowed hard. It won't happen again. I promise. This job means everything to me and Lily. Something in Diana's expression softened at the mention of his daughter. She'd met Lily several times at company family events and had always been kind to her. Mark, I understand single parenthood is challenging. Your work has been excellent, and I value your contributions to this company. She paused. But boundaries matter in a professional environment. Absolutely, Mark agreed quickly. I completely understand if you want to write me up or... I'm not writing you up, Diana interrupted. But I do think we need to clear the air. Your personal feelings about me can't interfere with our professional relationship. Mark felt his face burning with embarrassment. They won't. I promise. Diana nodded, then surprised him. I lost my father when I was 9. My mother raised me alone. I know how hard it is, from the child's perspective. She leaned forward slightly. Your job isn't in jeopardy, Mark. But I need to know this won't become an issue. It won't, Mark promised, relief washing over him. Thank you for understanding. As he turned to leave, Diana added, "And Mark? Next time, double-check who you're texting." The weeks that followed were awkward. Mark avoided Diana when possible, keeping interaction strictly professional. His friend Dave thought the whole situation was hilarious, but Mark couldn't laugh about it. Not when he'd nearly lost everything over a careless text. At home, things were growing challenging with Lily. She'd been struggling in school, missing her mother more as she approached milestones Sarah would never see. Mark was doing his best, but the parent-teacher conferences, the Girl Scout meetings, the nightmares that left Lily crying for her mom, it was overwhelming him. One evening, after putting Lily to bed following a particularly difficult day, Mark sat at his kitchen table surrounded by Bill's and Lily's school forms. The weight of doing it all alone crashed down on him, and he put his head in his hands, allowing himself a rare moment of vulnerability. His phone buzzed with a text from Diana. "Marketing proposal looks good. One suggestion on page 4. Mark stared at the message, sent at 9:30 p.m. Diana was working late too. Without thinking, he replied honestly, "Thanks. Sorry for the delay on revisions. Tough day with Lily." He hesitated before sending, but something made him press the button. Maybe it was exhaustion, or maybe it was knowing Diana had some understanding of his situation. Her response came quickly, "Everything okay?" And suddenly, Mark found himself pouring out his struggles in a text that became 2, then 3. How Lily's teacher suggested she might need counseling. How he didn't know how to help her through her grief when he was barely managing his own. How sometimes he felt he was failing the person who mattered most to him. Diana's response surprised him. "You're not failing her. You're showing up every day. That matters more than you know." They texted for nearly an hour, Diana sharing experiences from her childhood, offering suggestions about grief counselors who had helped her. For the first time since the text incident, Mark felt the tension between them ease, replaced by something that felt like understanding. The next day at work, Diana stopped by his desk. "I meant what I said last night. About the counselor. She helped me a lot after my dad died." She handed him a business card. "No pressure. Just an option." "Thank you," Mark said, genuinely touched by her kindness. Over the following months, something shifted between them. Not romance, Diana maintained clear professional boundaries, but a friendship began to form. Diana occasionally asked about Lily, and Mark found himself able to be honest about the challenges of single parenthood with someone who understood from a different perspective. Lily started seeing the counselor Diana had recommended, and slowly, her nightmares decreased. She began talking about her mother more freely, sharing memories instead of bottling them up. One evening, she surprised Mark by asking, "Can Diana come to my school play? She helped me with my costume idea when I visited your office." Mark was taken aback. "I don't know, sweetie. Diana's very busy with work. But she said she likes plays," Lily insisted. "And she helped me so much with my butterfly wings." Mark hadn't realized Diana and Lily had bonded during the brief office visit. Reluctantly, he promised to ask, certain Diana would politely decline. To his surprise, she didn't. "I'd be honored," she said when he awkwardly extended the invitation. "My Thursday evening is free." The night of the play, Mark waited nervously outside the elementary school auditorium. When Diana arrived, dressed casually in jeans and a sweater instead of her usual business attire, he barely recognized her. "Thank you for coming," he said. "It means a lot to Lily." Diana smiled. "I'm looking forward to it. I was the lead butterfly in my second-grade play, you know." "You were not," Mark laughed, surprised by this glimpse into her childhood. "I absolutely was. I have embarrassing photos to prove it." They sat together in the crowded auditorium, cheering as Lily fluttered across the stage in her butterfly costume. Afterward, Lily ran to them, still wearing her wings and face paint. "You came," she exclaimed, hugging Diana impulsively. I wouldn't have missed it, Diana said, returning the hug with a natural ease that surprised Mark. Your wings were perfect, much better than mine were at your age. As they walked to the parking lot, Lily chattering excitedly between them, Mark felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time, the feeling of not carrying everything alone. Ice cream? Lily suggested hopefully. To celebrate? Mark hesitated, looking at Diana. You're probably busy. Ice cream sounds perfect, Diana interrupted. If that's okay with your dad. That night marked a turning point. Diana became a friend to both Mark and Lily, never overstepping but offering support in small, meaningful ways. She recommended books that had helped her process grief as a child. She invited Lily to a women in business event at the office, encouraging her budding interest in art and design. For Mark, Diana became someone he could text when Lily had a breakthrough or a setback, someone who understood the complexity of childhood grief from first-hand experience. Their professional relationship remained intact. Diana was still his boss, still maintained appropriate boundaries at work, but outside the office, a genuine friendship blossomed. 6 months after the text incident, the Winters design team celebrated landing a major new client with an office party. As colleagues mingled and celebrated, Diana found Mark by the refreshment table. We wouldn't have gotten this account without your marketing strategy, she said. You should be proud. It was a team effort, Mark replied modestly. Diana smiled. Take the compliment, Collins. As they stood together, Dave, the intended recipient of Mark's infamous text, approached them, grinning mischievously. So, he said, looking between Mark and Diana, has he sent any more interesting texts lately? Mark felt his face flush. Dave, seriously. But Diana laughed, surprising them both. None that I've seen. Though I do check my phone more carefully these days, just in case. Dave raised his eyebrows at Mark. Well, that's disappointing. And here I thought the text was the start of a great love story. Dave. Mark protested, mortified. Diana saved him from further embarrassment. It was the start of something better, she said simply. A friendship. Sometimes those are more important. Later that evening, as the party wound down, Diana found Mark gathering his things to head home to relieve the babysitter. What Dave said earlier, she began, uncharacteristically hesitant. About the text being the start of something. Mark felt his heart rate quicken. Diana, you don't have to. Let me finish, she said gently. That text was inappropriate, and in most circumstances, it could have created a problematic workplace situation. Mark nodded, embarrassment washing over him again. But, Diana continued, it also led to an honest conversation. And then another. And somehow, through all that awkwardness, I gained a friend. She smiled. And Lily gained someone who understands what she's going through in a way even you can't. I'm grateful for that, Mark said sincerely. More than you know. Diana hesitated, then added, I've been thinking. About us. About boundaries and timing and all the complications. Mark held his breath, unsure where she was going. I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations, she said. Promoting Jen to COO. I'll still be involved, but focusing more on creative direction and strategy. That's a big change, Mark said, confused by this shift in conversation. Diana nodded. It is. And it means I won't be your direct supervisor anymore. She met his eyes directly. Which means, if you wanted to send that text again, intentionally this time, company policy wouldn't stand in the way. Mark stared at her, processing her words. Are you saying? I'm saying, Diana said carefully, that I value our friendship too much to risk it on bad timing. But I'm also saying that timing changes. Circumstances change. She smiled. And sometimes, accidental texts lead exactly where they're supposed to. As Mark drove home that night, he thought about how one mortifying mistake had somehow led to this moment, not a fairy tale romance, but something potentially more meaningful, a friendship that had helped both him and Lily heal, and the possibility of something more when the time was right. 3 months later, after Diana's transition to her new role was complete, Mark finally sent the text he'd been composing in his mind for weeks. "Would you like to have dinner with me Saturday? Just us this time." Her response came quickly, "I thought you'd never ask." And yes, I double-checked that I'm sending this to the right Mark. Their first date wasn't perfect. They both carried complicated histories, responsibilities, and fears. But it was honest, built on a foundation of friendship, mutual respect, and the understanding that had grown between them. 1 year after the text that nearly cost Mark his job, he, Lily, and Diana sat together at Lily's favorite restaurant, celebrating her 9th birthday. As Lily opened her presents, her laughter filling the room, Mark caught Diana's eye across the table. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" she asked. "For not firing me when you had every right to. For seeing past my mistake to the person I was trying to be for Lily. For everything since." Diana smiled, reaching for his hand. Sometimes the wrong text finds exactly the right person. As Lily blew out her candles, Mark realized that his greatest mistake had somehow led to his second chance at happiness, not just for him, but for his daughter too. The journey hadn't been easy or straightforward, but it had brought them here, to this moment of joy that once seemed impossible. And it had all started with a text sent to the wrong person at exactly the right time. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe for more emotional journeys that remind us how life's biggest mistakes can sometimes lead to our greatest blessings. Share in the comments if you've ever sent a text to the wrong person. We've all been there.